It just took one statement, one brutal bar from Nas, to rip Jim Jones' legend apart. That's correct. One line and the Dipset general is no longer looking so legendary. But here is the true question. Was it just lyrical warfare or a long-held anger finally erupting on wax because what Nas stated was more than simply an insult? It was a surgical strike, a phrase so cold and dismissive that even the OGs in Harlem whispered, "Yo, did he really say that?" Jim Jones isn't taking it well. According to sources, he has been sliding behind the scenes, lashing back on Instagram, avoiding interviews, and even canceling gigs. And now rumors are spreading. Tensions between record labels, internal squabbles, and, yes, possible legal action. But what exactly did Nas say to cause this kind of chaos? And why now, after so many years? If you don't believe this was simply rap feud. This has just developed into a full-fledged street opera. Stay right here because we're going to unravel a phrase that may have terminated Jim Jones' career forever. Jim Jones had no idea what was coming. He assumed it was just another day, another mic check, another petty back and forth. But what it said was more than simply a clapback. That was a career funeral in one bar, and Jim Jones didn't even receive the eulogy. Imagine this. The cameras are rolling, podcasts are playing, and rap blogs are silent. Too quiet, then boom, Nas delivered a nasty, accurate statement that slashed through Jim's legacy like a Ginsu knife. Only one line, and the internet began murmuring. Did Nas really kill Jim Jones in a single breath? Because when you're nauseous, the term subtle is deadly. You do not need a diss track. You don't. There is even a need for an entire verse. You just drop a calm, deliberate jab, and the blocks catch fire. People now clean old Jim recordings as if they were crime scene film. Memes are piling up like eviction notices, with cruel remarks, and Jim Jones the radio is quiet. And let us not pretend as if we are spanking new. This isn't the first time Jim Jones has been brave with his remarks and received a slap from karma. Remember when he attempted to make Nas irrelevant, like Mr. Illmatic did not create the model for half of the culture that these guys are imitating. Yeah, Jim Jones had the boldness to challenge Nas's legacy. He said he wasn't top-notch. He said he wasn't moving the needle. And for a time, it worked. People laughed, reposted, and indulged the absurdity. But everyone knew. You do not poke someone who is nauseous. You do not go fishing in shark water without checking the weather. And now the storm has arrived. Let us rewind the tape. Jim jumped on the radio mic months ago and became quite comfortable. Too comfy, started flinging names and shade, as if Nas wasn't the same man that went head-to-head with Jay-Z and came out with his crown still shining. Stated Nas was dull, overrated, and had little influence on the younger generation. That would be like calling Denzel Washington an extra, or Michael Jordan a benchwarmer. Blasphemy. But see, this is where things get messy. It wasn't just an arbitrary viewpoint. According to insiders, Jim was seeking to re-establish his popularity and relevance. He knew controversy sells. So, why not come for a legend? Why not bark up a tree whose roots are deep enough to bury you? So the bait was set. And Nas did not answer immediately. No, he let Jim Jones cook. Allow the sounds to become louder. Let the podcasts dispute. But secretly, behind closed doors, Ass was writing something lethal and lyrical. So, when that I don't argue with minis, so I dropped the line. That was when I finished building the mountain. That was the entire bullet. No names, no ranting, just surgical accuracy. The streets sensed it. Twitter erupted. TikTok clip after clip of Jim Jones' response edits. YouTube channels analyzed tone delivery syllables as if it were a crime scene investigation. And then the real devastation began. Club promoters began backing out. Brand deals are fading. One executive allegedly informed a source, "We're not touching the gym right now. It's too hot. It's a bad look to disrespect a king like Nas." Another said he played "Who is he doing this for?" clicks. However, this goes far deeper than rap. This is about heritage, respect, and cultural currency. Nas is hip-hop royalty. Jim Jones may have had a moment, a movement, but nausea is the moment. Always has been, and always will be, and fans are catching on quickly. Comments like Jim Jones got to apologize to the culture. That's what happens when you test a deity. With a GD, people aren't holding back. Even fellow musicians have been silently unfollowing Jim Jones in an effort to keep their image clean. Nobody wants to be the next collateral damage. Jim Jones attempted to brush it off at first, posting selfies, small subliminals. It was evident that the pain was setting in, because he understands that he made a mistake. He didn't just poke the bear. He stepped into the jungle, smacked it in the face, and lighted a match. Now, this is when things take a wild left turn. A leaked group conversation, apparently from Jim's own staff, began circulating. In it, someone reportedly remarks, "Yo, why did Jim Jones go after Nas like that? We're not ready for poetic warfare." We advised him to calm down, and now we're rushing. Because if those leaks are true, it's proven. Another message stated, "This is not as Jim Jones was warned and disregarded it," which makes this whole situation 1,000 times worse. As if that wasn't enough. Fresh footage from a backstage event involving Jim's own crew, a man in the background mutters, "He shouldn't have said it." Nas line. Boom, more gasoline. And the most unusual twist of all is that a big documentary team working on a Dipset project has suspended production indefinitely, claiming that the brand is in crisis mode. Imagine that. One line from Nas has now compromised while Jim's silence becomes louder. Nas is out here smiling on red carpets, dropping poems, and playing chess. Unfazed, untouchable, and unconcerned. Because when you're a legend, you don't respond, you adapt. And when you speak, the world listens. What's even weirder is that rumors currently say that numerous high-profile rappers, industry titans, are working on a Nas tribute cipher merely to remind the world who established the standard. And guess whose name isn't on the invite list? You guessed it, Mr. Jones. And now there's a fresh round of memes going around. Imagine Jim Jones peering into the distance with the comment, "When you realize Nas ruined your summer with a savage, brutal, and hilarious haiku, but this ain't just about a rap fight. It's about witnessing a man stake his career for a headline and lose it all." The worst thing was that Nas didn't even flinch, didn't raise his voice, didn't write a tweet. Simply dropped that one bar and allowed the culture do the rest. But it doesn't stop here. Simply like that, the room became cold. Jim Jones froze, like someone had just disconnected his mic, his confidence, and his whole rap career at once. You could see it. That uncomfortable shift in his seat, that tight jaw clench. Man was trying to play it casual, but his spirit had just packed a duffel bag and fled the building. How can you bounce back when the man you've been stealth dissing for years just ended you in a sentence? One sentence, one surgical strike. Nas didn't yell, flex, or even raise his voice. He just dropped that sentence like a seasoned mob boss issuing instructions at dinner. Quiet, calculated, and lethal. Twitter, oh baby. Twitter changed into a crime scene. People were tweeting, "Rip Jim Jones," as if the man had truly died. Memes were flowing in from all directions, and someone tweeted a video of a coffin performing the Harlem Shake with the caption, "Jim's career fighting to survive after Nas ethered him." Another user remarked, "Jim just got curb stomped by a thesaurus in loafers." And the weird thing, this wasn't even a diss tune. Nas didn't go to the studio, need a beat. All he needed was a chair, a mic, and facts. But wait, let's rewind because some folks still don't understand why this hit so hard. This wasn't just about music. This was for years. Jim Jones had been prodding the animal, shooting small bullets, insisting Nas wasn't outside, wasn't significant, wasn't even in. What's more, Nas didn't stop there. In the same breath, he rotated the lens. It's dangerous to underestimate someone who has never raised their voice to murder you. Since asked why everyone is so focused with being authentic, since most rappers can't even be honest with themselves, he answered, "These dudes walk around with platinum chains and paper soles, shiny on the exterior, but hollow where it counts." Oh my God. Was he still talking about Jim Jones? Probably. But at this point, everyone in the room started examining their reflection. People in the crowd remarked. You could feel the tension shift like a courtroom after a guilty verdict. Jim Jones, the guy, appeared to be preparing to pull a fire alarm just to flee. As if the air itself understood it needed to remain silent for this execution. And here's the weirdest part. Jim Jones had been prepping for this moment. Conducting interviews, talking slick about Nas, stating ain't nobody listening to old heads. Even saying Nas needed to humble himself. And Nas didn't even flinch. Waited until the cameras were on, the lights were bright, and Jim believed he had the upper hand. Then, bam, that silent room's line. That wasn't just a clapback. After the interview aired, Jim Jones attempted to reply. It's a confession from the culture itself, because when Nas talks, hip-hop listens. Even if you despise him, you know, he's based on something genuine. The poor guy went live on Instagram, ranting, pacing, and clapping his hands, as if the louder he got, the less ashamed he'd feel, saying, "I don't care what Nas said, I'm outdoors. I am active. I got hit in the streets." And the comments, "Oof sir, you had your moment in 2006. Ballin' is now a stage of your career, not a measure of your success. Go sit in one of those silent rooms and contemplate." The internet was cruel. And let's not lie, Jim's fan group, dedicated as they are, started getting very quiet, too. No one wants to defend someone who just received Jim attempted to pick fights with Jay-Z, Pusha T, and pretty much anyone else on national television. And now the blog has started digging out previous interviews. Jim Jones, who had bars sharper than a butter knife, wasn't attempting to enhance hip-hop. He was trying to provoke legends in the hopes that the limelight would eventually fall on him again, following the old-school brawl, your way to significance playbook. But the trouble is that you can't play chess with someone who's already 3 moves ahead. Nas knew precisely what Jim was trying to accomplish, and instead of feeding the ego, he broke it wide open. Charlemagne the God stated, Jim Jones tried to go at Nas and received a history lesson in the jaw. Ibro said, "This isn't 2005. Respect your elders, or be humiliated." Even Flex, who used to ride hard for Dipset, wrote a cryptic tweet that said, "There's levels to this." Few could sense the tide changing. The industry, as sluggish it might be at times, heard the shot. More importantly, they observed who had survived. Because this is the unvarnished truth. This wasn't just a clapback. This was Nas reminding the whole game who still had the pen. The hardest thing for Jim was that he had no backup plan. No hit single, no viral freestyle, and no social publicity stunt designed to spin headlines. All he had left was bravado, which does not stream well. Now, there were unsubstantiated rumors that Jim attempted to contact certain people behind the scenes. Attempted to induce nausea during a call, maybe hush it up, or spin it as if it were merely competition. However, given what we've heard, Nas did not respond. And really, why would he? When you stop someone's momentum with a single phrase, there's nothing left to talk. But don't worry, this isn't over, because just as you think the storm is ended, a new front sweeps in. And guess who joins the discussion next? We'll go into that next. Because what occurred next included more than just Nas and Jim Jones. It brought in a whole new name. Nobody saw this coming. Let's just say that when this fresh voice spoke, the business rocked again. Ready. And just when you thought the tale couldn't be much more combustible, Nas strikes again. This was neither a backstage scene or a side statement hidden in a podcast. No, he doubled down on the same platform that produced the beef. With each bar, every audience reaction, it seemed as if he was lighting fire to Jim's heritage, which he had worked so hard to defend. And Jim Jones remained mute, paralyzed. It was like seeing someone struggle to swim over wet concrete. Now, here's where things got even darker. Yes, those strange, chatty sources that somehow, everyone began whispering about phone calls. Phone calls from Jim's team to different sites requesting, begging, and demanding that some of Nas's material be removed or shadow banned. "He's damaging our brand," one of the texts reportedly stated. "Excuse me, your brand? Sir, Nas just made your entire heritage appear like a small error in hip-hop history." Then there were the brands. Fashion endorsements gone cold. A sneaker collab which was hyped up for months. A booze business that formerly put him front and center discreetly unfollowed him on Instagram. Can you imagine the humiliation of being digitally ghosted by vodka? Now, let's talk about Fat Joe's BBQ. Yes, it's random, but believe me, it counts. Picture this: a backyard Bronx summer picnic with Joe, Remy, Busta, and Swiss. The vibes are good, the music is pounding. And guess who walks in all cheerful, sporting all white linen like he hasn't been dragged through the poetic trenches? Jim. You could sense conversations came to a halt, plates froze in midair, and even the DJ halted, uncertain if he should change the tune to something less pertinent. But the dagger Nas was already there. He didn't even flinch. He merely lifted his glass, toasted the event like a mafia leader at a peace treaty, and let out a cool "nice to see you." Jim Jones. I won't tell who, but they rhyme with beak. Blills released a private film of Jim Jones in a studio pacing frustratedly, slamming his hat on the table, yelling, "I never should have gone after Nas. That man is the devil in Timberlands." Oh not, him pulling a full confession can cam like it's, but it doesn't end there. Because now the fans have selected sides. And spoiler alert, they're vicious. Comments under Jim's latest posts. Jim Jones was the first rapper to commit suicide live on video. Another joined in, "You should have just drank your tea and minded your lobby." And the memes, Lord, have mercy. One viral meme depicted a photo of Jim modified onto a chalk outline with the words, "Hip-hop crime scene, Nas slain." Another had a phony obituary, and Jim Jones' career was ended by a metaphor and a beat drop. But here's the real kicker. Industry experts are now utilizing this as a case study. I kid you not, a leaked Zoom conference from a big label revealed a PowerPoint titled "What Not to Do, the Jim Jones Protocol," with bullet points. Don't start lyrical conflict unless you can really rap. Don't pick battles with legends during their cultural revival. And, for the love of hip-hop, don't overlook a quiet guy with a pen. According to sources, Jim's team is exploring a total rebranding, such as ditching the rapper name and going full real estate mogul, or starting a podcast called Brick by Brick, reconstructing after Nas. However, they may be too late. Nas didn't only mock Jim, he also issued a warning to the entire rap game. Say my name at your own risk. That, my friends, is the type of reputation that doesn't need to be protected. It enters into the room and everyone else stops up, and suddenly Nas is prospering. Spotify streaming have skyrocketed, and a deluxe vinyl version of Illmatic sold out in 9 minutes. Even that Netflix documentary heated back in 2016, trending again. Like what? This dude clashed with Jim Jones and accidentally went viral across 3 generations of hip-hop enthusiasts. Meanwhile, Jim states that he's gone low profile, no shows, no studio sessions, just radio silence. A close buddy, who may or may not be the same man who is usually conveniently nameless, claimed Jim's been doing a lot of self-reflection and evaluating his priorities. Translation: he's been hiding away and praying Nas this wasn't simply a dispute. It was a master lecture in literary warfare, a warning of what happens when you come for a monarch without Nas. Didn't just stop the debate, he terminated an era. So, the next time a rapper feels courageous, daring, or bored, and considers calling out a living icon, they should remember this story. They may want to question themselves. Is my catalog prepared for the smoke? Is my pen designed for war? And, more crucially, is my career disposable? Because NS shown that a well-placed bar may collapse a brand. And in that sense, Jim was not just vanquished, he was removed. And now the million-dollar question: was this simply hip-hop history unfolding or a straight-up career? After that one phrase from Nas, Jim didn't just lose a rap fight. He lost the entire war, the narrative, the clout, the legacy, all shattered like cheap glass. Who could have predicted that? Jim was chest-pounding throughout interviews, yelling, "We run New York." And the next poof, hushed by a legend who didn't even raise his voice. But what does this say about culture and loyalty? How fragile are these rap empires really? One verse, one truth bomb, and it all comes crumbling down. So now I have to ask you, was Nas out of line or simply too true for this generation? Was this a diss or a eulogy? And does Jim Jones even recover from this? Or should we just toss his mic in the Hudson and call it a day? Share your opinions in the comments. Was this hip-hop justice or petty rap revenge? Hit the like button if Nas just earned your lifetime respect, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe since this is only the beginning. More truths and more takedowns create additional pandemonium. Because when bars are this dangerous, we don't just react, we chronicle the harm.